We hear all the time that it's important to get enough protein. And that's so true. But how much protein is enough protein? That's a big question I hear from a lot of people. Secondly, how do we get that much protein? Is it by spacing out throughout the day, having a really big meal? Well, we're going to dive into that today. I'm going to give you just a quick few tips on how to know how much protein to be getting, what is the optimal amount of protein, and then what are some sneaky protein sources that you can just slide in throughout the day. You're listening to the Low Carb Hustle, home of your $1,000,000 body method, where we help you get leaner and live longer. My name is Nate Palmer. I've been a coach since 2008 and I've helped over 1,100 people level up their health and fitness. My mission is simple: to show you how to easily drop fat so you can feel lean, strong, and energetic. So if you're ready to learn the secret to getting enough protein and how much you actually need, well, stick around. Let's do this. How much protein do you need? Now, I think there's something going around on the internet where people will talk about the amount of protein you need being something like 1 pound or 1 gram per pound of body weight. And that's true, but there's some nuance there. Okay. So first and foremost, it doesn't come from just 1 pound of body weight. If you're 400 pounds, you want to get down to 200 pounds, you don't need 400 grams of protein, if we're being honest. And this is always something that was hard for me. Not eating 400 grams of protein. I've never had that issue where I was like, oh no, too much protein, but getting enough, getting the right amount, especially if you're trying to add muscle or put on some size or just kind of do like a lean bulk. Getting enough protein can be probably the trickiest part of this. But if you get this right, everything else becomes a lot easier. And I'll explain why that is in a second. But I remember I had no problem eating, the carbohydrates, the fats. Getting in too many fats was like the most simple thing in the world. I always ended the day checking my Fitness Pal or whatever and seeing, wow, I doubled my fat consumption. I was right on the money with my carb consumption, and I missed out on 100 grams of protein. So I had to go back and really figure out what are the ways that we can get protein in. And for me, it was like, how do I sneak this in? A lot of times I had a hard time eating because I was really busy during the day, especially as like a personal trainer. I would have these 30-minute sessions with no downtime in the middle. No complaints here, but just this is kind of the nature of the beast. So I would start off at like 6, 7 a.m., have a bunch of sessions all back to back, have a break in the middle of the day, and then start up again at like 2 p.m., go till like 6, 7, 8 p.m. at night. And most of the time I wasn't having big breaks to be able to sneak protein in, have 6 meals a day, get like grill a chicken breast or something. So a lot of what I was eating had to be prepped ahead of time or had to come in a very accessible manner. Otherwise, it wasn't going to happen for me. So I'll share what I learned about that, and I'll share a couple specific and simple ways to get enough protein. Okay. First of all, how much protein do you need? Technically, the answer is you need about 0.88 grams per pound of ideal body weight. That's what several studies have showed us is the right thing to do. 0.88. But that math is hard. So instead of that, I like the 1 gram per pound, but of ideal body weight. If you want to be at 200 pounds, eat 200 grams of protein. If you want to be at 150 pounds, eat about 150 grams of protein. Now, here's the caveat. Okay. This is something that was really interesting. I learned this like 2 years ago, and it's really changed how I've approached nutrition and how I've recommended that clients approach their protein goals. First of all, there are some studies out that would say like, hey, having too much protein can be bad for your kidneys. You don't want to have that. You don't want to be eating too much of the whey protein, the protein supplements, etc. But come to find out, there's really no upper limit of the amount of protein that you can take in that is going to be negatively impacting your kidneys unless you already have some sort of kidney issue. So just with that in mind, like you can eat plenty of protein and really make that the foundation of your nutrition. Okay. If you can just figure out what protein you're eating, how much, and at what times, the rest of the day falls into place so much easier. This is key. This is really key because if you can figure out what protein you're eating and at what times during the day and how you're going to get enough protein, this can make your life way easier. And one simple trick that I like this is pre-track your calories. So if you're tracking macros, you're using Chronometer, using my Fitness Pal, something like that, in the night before or the morning of, track your calories for the day, what you're planning on having. And then from there, you can go back in and make some small adjustments later on. But you've already kind of created that meal plan for yourself for the day. This is a game changer right here. So if you never tried pre-tracking, this is money. Okay. Second thing I get asked a lot is, how much protein can I take in at a single time? And when I first started training, the answer was 30 grams of protein. And I was like, well, is that men or women? It's like everybody only can do 30 grams of protein. But a couple studies came out in 2022 that said, when they were testing this, that there's really no upper limit to the amount of protein you can ingest at one meal. Sure, it just takes it a little bit longer for your body to go through, break that down into aminos and use it. But it's not like you're just going to pass the rest through after you have 30 grams. That was completely a myth, and that's been since debunked. So if you want to eat 50, 60, 70 grams of protein in a meal, that's fine. Especially since most people I encourage to stick to try to have 3 meals per day. And if you're trying to have 200, 250 grams of protein, you need to have 70, 80 grams per meal. That's quite a bit. So imagine that. Imagine like 70 grams of protein, which is basically going to be like 2 chicken breasts. Imagine having that 3 times per day. If you eat 6 chicken breasts during the day, you're not going to be that hungry. You're just not. It's insane how filling that is and how good you'll feel afterwards. No hunger pangs, no blood sugar spikes, no tiredness. You're not going to crash out. So this is not necessarily a secret, but if once you start utilizing it and you start seeing how powerful this method can be, it's a game changer. It's a game changer when you can fit this much in. Okay. The second thing that I've learned recently that I think is amazing is when they went back, when I say they, I mean science. So these group of guys did a meta-analysis of a bunch of different studies where they looked at how people have gained muscle and lost fat on the same program, eating a specific number of calories, what they were doing for their workouts, how they were living their lives, etc. And when they looked at this meta-analysis, there were 2 contributing factors. Probably 3, because all these workouts involved some form of resistance training. So we'll say 3. So number 1 was you're working out, you're lifting weights, you're doing something that is challenging your muscles. Okay. So you have to have that in place if you want to build muscle. Okay. The second thing is these people were getting between 1.2 and 1.6 grams. So we can say round that up to like 1.5 grams of protein per pound of body mass, per pound of ideal body mass. So let's say your goal again then is 200, or your goal is to be 200 pounds, having 1.5 grams of protein per pound. Now we're talking about 300 grams of protein per day. That's a metric shit ton. That's so much. So now you got to think about how do you get 300 grams of protein in per day while still eating literally anything else. And it becomes very challenging. The third thing that everyone in this study had in common is that they were all sleeping about 8 hours per night. So if you're only getting 5 hours, try to build that up 6, 7 plus hours. I feel like if you're sitting 7 or more hours per night of sleep, you're probably in a pretty good spot. 8 would be amazing. Maybe you can grab a little siesta in the afternoon. That's as nature intended. So with those 2 things in place, right? With you're getting some resistance training, you're sleeping enough, and you're getting plenty of protein, borderline excessive, you are going to be so far ahead of the curve. Now, the problem is, how do we do it? How do we get this in? Okay. So I'm going to give you a protein breakdown for 200 grams of protein. Then I'm going to share some sneaky protein sources that you can use as a part of your daily life. Okay. So number 1, this is going to make your math a lot easier. 200 grams of protein basically equates to 2 pounds of lean meat. 100 grams of protein is a pound of lean meat. Okay. So we're talking like 93.7 ground beef. We're talking chicken breasts. I would even throw chicken thighs in there, even though they're a little more fat, leaner cuts of beef, turkey, etc. Higher fat cuts of meat are going to not quite have that exact same payoff, but you can still apply this math and get within the ballpark. If you want to get real serious and real nitpicky on the data here, get one of those food scales where you can actually put something on it, punch in what it is, and it'll give you a readout of calories, carbs, fats, proteins. It's really handy. Otherwise, just throw it in MyFitnessPal. But do make sure you're measuring it and weighing it, because otherwise then you're just guessing, and that's not where you want to be at. So even if you're not going to do this for life, measuring and tracking your calories for like 2 weeks is a hugely beneficial exercise. It just makes you better at understanding food and what you're eating. Once you start looking at nutrition labels and like every single thing you pick up at the grocery store, you're like, how much protein is in this? What's in this? You just become fitter and healthier. that's a guarantee. If you're looking at nutrition labels before you put stuff in your cart, you are going to be on the healthier side. And right now, everyone is on the unhealthy side. So it's very, very easy to be above average in this capacity. All right. So you want to hit 200 grams of protein? Well, that's easy. Now you can have 2 pounds of chicken. Great. Out the door. Okay. I don't want to eat 2 pounds of chicken. That sounds awful, to be honest with you. I did a phase in my life where I was eating chicken, rice, and sriracha hot sauce pretty much like 2 or 3 times a day for months. And now I can't even touch sriracha. Like you can mix it into like a fried rice or something like that, but I'm not putting it on top of anything. I really just got burnt out on it. And I know a lot of people do that same thing with like chicken and rice. You just eat so much of it that you're like, again, no, I'm out. Actually, I'm out for the chicken and rice meal. Chipotle, pass. So if you don't want to eat 2 pounds of chicken, great. You can link in some other lean meats, but here's my better solution. You could also do 1.5 pounds of lean meat and a protein shake with 2 scoops of protein. I use the whey from $1 Million Body Labs because it's mine and I like it. It tastes delicious, but there's 25 grams of protein per scoop. Well, so now you've had 50 grams there. You have 1.5 pounds. That's another 150 grams out the door. Pretty easy. Especially if you're having that 50 grams in the morning as your breakfast shake. I've talked about the $1 Million Body breakfast shake a few times, but basically it's 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, 2 scoops of whey protein, a scoop of creatine, 5 grams, some ice. Make sure that you put the ice in first, then the liquids. Use almond milk. Sometimes my mom has actually been making her own yogurt. So she'll bring me the byproduct, which is just straight whey. So I use like liquid whey as the base. It's tangy. It's nice. I like it. And that's a great way to get out the door. For that last little bit of that excellence in your protein shake, just sprinkle a little bit of salt in there. That's one of my favorite ways. It makes it a lot more, just tastes better. It just tastes more rich. I like it. Once you start doing that, you won't go back. And so the third option would be then having 1 pound of lean meat, 1 protein shake, and like 7 eggs. Okay. So now your daily meal plan could be like 7 eggs that are scrambled or fried in the morning. And 7 sounds like a lot. And it is, but it's going to fill you up. You are not going to be hungry for hours if you eat 6, 7 eggs. Okay. So each egg's about 6 to 7 grams of protein. So you're getting between 42 and 49 grams there. Great. That's a perfect place to start. And so now you got the eggs in the morning. You do a shake for lunch. You make it at breakfast. You just put it in a shaker, like a insulated shaker bottle. Bring that with you. And then you have a pound of meat for dinner. Okay. So you've front loaded your day with carbs with fats and proteins, which is optimal. You're having a light lunch, that protein shake, and then you have your biggest meal of the day in the PM. That's like perfect situation if you can hit something like that. And for most of us, if you're not 200 pounds or don't want to be 200 pounds, then, having a little less protein is not a bad option as well. But I really think that striving to hit that one gram per pound of ideal body weight is a game changer, and it just changes the way you look at food and nutrition. So those are kind of 3 different ways to break that down. But how can we sneak some extra additional protein in, either in the form of snacks, meals, or just finding things you can add to your meals to have a higher protein content? Because a lot of times, we'll go out to eat or whatever, or get something catered, and it's sandwiches, right? You got like a slice of turkey on each piece. And so you finish the meal and you're like, wow, I got 13 grams of protein there. That's not acceptable. That's not going to work out. So what do? Let's add more protein. So let's find things that you can do that are going to make it very easy to get some extra protein in. First thing is, I love those on the go tuna packs. So you can go on Amazon and buy these, but basically you can just get regular tuna, or you can get like buffalo tuna. You can get garlic and lemon tuna. You can get all kinds of different types, flavors, etc., of these tear off tuna packs, which is like 17 to 20 grams of protein in one of those. You can eat in about 4 or 5 bites. It's fast. It's easy. It tastes pretty good. You can have those on hand in your office, at your house, wherever. Put them in your backpack. Doesn't matter. Briefcase. Are we still carrying briefcases? It's 2024. Not totally sure. Next is a kind of staying in that fish route. Canned fish, tinned fish is a great option. I like the sardines and the anchovies. They are not like your traditional, like super salty things that you put on Caesar salad and you're like, woo, don't want that. Like, it's not like pizza that you put anchovies on. They're just like fish. They're just like deboned fish that come in a little tin. So usually there's like 3 or 4 of them. I like to take those, put them on like cracker, and then throw like a pickled jalapeno on top, and then have those as like a part of my lunch. So that's an easy way to get an additional like 20, 24 grams of protein somewhere in there. That's something that's fantastic to have on hand. Kind of in that same zone, Costco has a few different options that are great. Number one, it has like a canned chicken. You do need a can opener to open their stuff. It's not going to peel off. But man, in that thing, you get about 50 grams of protein. It's a lot. Sometimes I'll mix in just a little bit of like vinaigrette. Maybe I'll throw in like a little bit of mayo or some ranch dressing, something like that. Something just makes it easier to mix. I always do a little bit of pickle juice, salt and pepper, mix that up. You can do it right in the can and then just eat that or throw it on a sandwich or some crackers or something like that. Great way to get 40, 50 grams of protein there. I also really like the using Greek yogurt for this. So doing like a low fat Greek yogurt and make sure it's plain. Don't get the high sugar stuff. We're going to add something to it. Okay. So a couple of options here. Number one, I like the parfait where I take the Greek yogurt, I throw a scoop of the whey in, and then I mix it all up. You got to mix it really good first. And once you mix it good, it becomes like this almost like pudding frosting type of consistency. We got to mix it really good to get all the powder in there. And then I'll throw some blueberries or strawberries on top of that. That's an amazing dessert. It's an amazing way to finish out the day and get plenty of protein. It also doubles as a good lunch or breakfast if you want it to. So that's a easy mode. Another thing you can do with that Greek yogurt is throw a scoop of like electrolytes in there. And when I say electrolytes, don't use the element on this one because that's going to make it really salty and weird tasting. I've tried it. Not for me. But like Advocare or some of the ones that are a little bit more like Gatorade, like better forms of Gatorade powder, that's a good option. So most of the time, those are going to have like 4 to 8 grams of sugar per scoop. I use about like a full scoop for a 32-ounce container of Greek yogurt and just mix that all in. You could also throw in like a Crystal Light packet there. That's a good option. Or squirt some Mio, that water flavoring stuff in there. Mix that all in. And now you got like 80 grams of protein. It cost you $4 and took you 1 minute to prepare it. That's an excellent option there. The last thing I'll say is an easy trick to just getting enough protein is batch prepping all your protein. So if you're making chicken tonight, don't just cook enough chicken for tonight. Cook enough that you have it for like a double the amount that you needed. So that way you have some chicken on hand for lunch tomorrow to chop up and make into dinner tomorrow night, whatever that looks like. Because if you take chicken thighs or chicken breasts, eat them tonight, you have chicken potatoes, let's say, then tomorrow you can chop those up and throw them into tacos, or you can chop them up and put them into like a tikka masala sauce and put it on the stovetop, put your rice in a rice cooker. And then like, that's a 6-minute process and you got a great meal. Your kids like it, especially if they like things that are very savory. Or I'll do like, throw that into like a fried rice, make some rice in the rice cooker, throw it into the pan, throw that chicken in there and throw some like stir fried veggies. Super easy and have that on hand. But if you can just make sure you have protein in your fridge ready to go, that itself is a life hack and a game changer. So hopefully this is helpful for you in determining how much protein you need and how to get it in 3 meals, and a couple sneaky protein sources that you can just move into your life without stressing about it or having to cook something. So especially if you're going out to eat a lot, you're getting stuff catered, you're at the office, you don't have a lot of time, making sure that you have these on hand, ready to roll is going to make your life so much easier. And I think you're going to love the results. Talk to you soon.